please go to protectweek.org.
State Circle is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Connecting Marylanders to their government. This is State Circle.
Good evening. Welcome to State Circle. Coming up this week, how the Purple Line went off the rails and restaurants fighting to stay in business. That's ahead. We begin with a status report on Maryland's battle with the coronavirus. The number of patients in Maryland hospitals continues to advance after declining sharply from May. The last few weeks have seen an increase to nearly 600 patients. Governor Hogan this week expanded mask requirements. All Marylanders over the age of 5 are required to wear face coverings in the public spaces of all businesses and in outdoor public areas when it is not possible to maintain physical distancing.
This expansion of the masking order is an action that is both fact-based, apolitical, and solidly grounded in science. And while it can be an inconvenience, especially in the heat, wearing a mask is the single best mitigation strategy that we have to fight the virus. And the science and the data are very clear. It's the best way to keep you and your family safe, to keep people out of the hospital, and to keep Maryland open for business.
We learned this week that the nation's economy shrank by nearly 10% in the second quarter, and high unemployment is leading many to fall behind on rent payments. Temporary moratoriums on evictions are ending, just as the continuation of extra unemployment benefits is being debated in Washington. The state Senate's Housing Work Group released a report this week with ideas for averting mass evictions. We spoke with panel chair Senator Shelley Hettleman.
The purpose of the work group is to look at what are the challenges that people are facing staying in their homes during the pandemic. We met the committee under the leadership of Chairman Will Smith, met back in May and had a public hearing, and then he appointed this work group to delve more deeply into the issues. In terms of scope, there have been 2 national studies recently, and they both came to consensus that we're talking in the neighborhood of 300,000 households that are at risk of eviction in the next couple months.
We're also joined by Senator Chris West, also a member of the work group, Republican from Baltimore County. Sir, you know, your view of the situation, and maybe let's start with where there are areas of agreement politically within the work group report.
Well, we all are in agreement that the governor's recent initiative to assist tenants and landlords in getting over this hurdle was good as far as it went. I think we're all also in agreement that it probably didn't go far enough. There's not enough money dedicated to it right now. The governor's initiative is to send money to landlords to pay for the rent of tenants who can't afford to pay their own rent because they've lost their jobs during the pandemic. So, he only allocated $30 million to it. We're concerned that that's not enough, that there's going to need to be a lot more allocated, which is one reason why the governor is fighting so hard over in Washington to get this new initiative passed, which will return money to the states so they'll have more money to spend on things like this.
Senator Hettleman, any idea, you know, what it would take financially to at least get people, you know, we just got this week the horrible economic news about the nation's GDP dropping nearly 10%, unprecedented. Everybody expects it's going to be a while till we get unemployment even back down to single digits. What would it take to solve the problem?
So we didn't include an exact amount in our report, but we do know from advocates in the community who've done some estimates that we're probably talking upwards of $150 million. So we know that many local jurisdictions have created their own eviction prevention programs. And what we have seen in county after county, including our own Baltimore County, is that the need far surpasses what the resources are available right now. So for example, just in Baltimore County in 4 days in June, there was a $1 million program that the county executive offered on eviction prevention, and over 1,500 households applied for that. So that $1 million could only go to just over half of that number. And he did another round that focuses on nonprofits to provide assistance directly to tenants at risk. But in county after county that has had programs like this, the need just far outstrips the dollars available.
In normal times, so many of these people would be on the street, right? I mean, at the moment, there are different moratoriums that will apply to different things. Maybe one is expired, but the courts aren't processing any requests at the moment, right?
Well, they've just started to, and I would actually take issue. In normal times, people would be able to pay their rent in a better way than they can now. They wouldn't be, they wouldn't be unemployed. They would work for businesses, hopefully, that would be thriving. So it was sort of this confluence of issues last weekend in the combination of the federal moratorium being lifted, the unemployment supplement from the CARES Act, that extra $600 a month that folks were getting that disappeared, and then the courts starting to hear cases again. So Monday, they just started hearing the cases that had been pending from before the pandemic. So folks whose landlords were trying to evict them from before the pandemic in March, those cases are going to be heard, but failure to pay cases are going to start to be heard in the next phase of the court reopening, which will take place right at the beginning of September. So that's really when we're looking at, I think, seeing this landslide of cases.
The serious crunch occurs about the 1st of September, right around Labor Day. Yeah. And then we're going to find problems occurring all across the state, unless the governor can find more money to inject into his initiative.
Within the small work group you had, where were there areas of disagreement about what can be done, what ought to be done?
Shelley, you want to start?
Sure. I will say that there were far more areas of agreement than there were disagreement.
What were there? 14 recommendations, and 11 of them we all were in agreement on. There are only 3 that I had some problems with.
Right. So the areas of disagreement, one with asking the governor to extend the moratorium on evictions until the state of emergency and the state of health emergency is lifted. That was the recommendation of the majority of the work group. Second, there was some difference of opinion on legal services. Most of the work group also said that people in landlord-tenant litigation should be afforded publicly supported legal services. These are really complicated cases, and in places where legal services are provided, the numbers of evictions go down precipitously. And so we really think that this is crucial to helping people navigate this complicated system. And then third was the
shielding.
Right. We were asking the courts to try and examine whether they can take some steps to prevent people from having a stain on their record and having it available to the public if they're going through, if they have a judgment for eviction. There is this balancing act between the public's right to know and this detrimental effect it can have on someone's credit report or consumer report, and have it trail them for years and years and years down the line and have a negative impact on their ability to buy a car or rent or buy a home, something like that further down.
Do you think in this current environment, weak rental real estate market, that some landlords might be willing to negotiate with the tenant? I mean, where does a tenant start if they're out of work, government benefits might be ending, they know they've got a problem? If you approach the landlord may want to keep somebody who's historically been a good tenant because it's a whole lot easier than finding somebody new at this point.
Yeah, we had testimony from landlord groups as well as tenants, and the landlords uniformly said that this was their preference. In every single case, they love to sit down with a tenant and come up with some kind of a payment arrangement which would allow the money to be paid over time. So it's hard to legislatively mandate that. But that's where the landlords are coming from. They don't have any interest in kicking people out any more than the tenants want to be kicked out. Now, where I disagree with Shelley is the emergency could last a long time. We don't know when it's going to end. We could be under emergency a year from now. We could still be under emergency 2 years from now if we don't come up with a vaccine that works. And if the landlords can't evict the tenants, it means the tenants get free lodging, and also under their recommendations, they get free utilities, they get free television, they get free internet. I'm forgetting a few. They get free an awful lot of things for the duration of the emergency. I could support it in the early days when there was a lockdown. And if you put people out on the street, you've got a pandemic going on. I can still support it now because we have this little bump that's occurring. But there has to be a time when the statistical metrics, benchmark goals are met, when people need to pay their bills or go on public assistance and use public assistance money to pay for their lodging and not the burden on landlords to continue to carry people for free.
Let me get Senator Hettleman on that. I just have about 30 seconds.
Sure.
Well, I think that we're in such a unique time, and this pandemic requires that we stay safely housed. I think both for the individual and the community at large. If we have thousands of evictions, it is going to contribute to our public health crisis. So while I agree that landlords also need help, that is one of the reasons why we're really pushing for a strong and robust publicly supported rental assistance program.
Leave it there. Senators Hettleman and West, we thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Among the hardest hit industries in the COVID recession, restaurants, as our Nancy Yamato reports.
I would never forgive myself if somebody got sick from something that I did or that we did as a restaurant.
Lance Cook knows a lot is on the line as he opens his second restaurant, The Periodic Table in Columbia. It sits across the street from his other restaurant, Tino's Italian Bistro. Besides perfecting the menu and hiring staff, Cook has spent the last few months coming up with a plan on how to keep everyone safe.
We're wearing gloves. That's not a mandate. We're wearing masks all the time. You know, we're trying to go above and beyond at Tino's, and we're going to get it here too. We have a UV clean air system, so it circulates clean air.
But even with the best precautions, Cook has had to close Tino's for a few days after an employee is suspected of contracting the coronavirus.
We make sure that everybody gets tested, everybody comes back hopefully negative, and then we just clean the restaurant and we start all over on Monday.
Though most counties are allowing restaurants to seat customers inside, distanced and at 50% capacity.
It would be nice if we could get 50%, but people are scared. You know, we have not had 50% capacity yet.
The Restaurant Association of Maryland says more than 2/3 of diners prefer to eat outdoors, but the oppressive heat has made a lot of people decide to just stay home.
Most people are not excited about eating outdoors in 90-degree heat, and the restaurants sales are reflecting that right now.
Marshall Weston is the president and CEO of the Restaurant Association of Maryland.
Restaurants are in a survive any way you can mode right now.
He says as the pandemic lingers on, up to 40% of restaurants may end up closing, a huge loss for communities.
In the state of Maryland alone, over $10 million in gift cards and gift certificates are donated to nonprofits, charities, sports teams by restaurants. And every day of the year, restaurants are there to support the community. And we hope when the times are difficult like this, people remember that and continue to get takeout if they're not ready to dine in.
As for Cook, he's grateful for the support he's receiving from loyal customers, many of whom are choosing to spend their money at home.
No trips to Disney, no trips to Europe or Niagara Falls are going on right now. People are scared, so they're staying home. That is one positive, and you've always got to kind of look at the silver lining in any situation that you have.
I'm Nancy Yamada for State Circle.
The events of 2020 have challenged the mental health of many and stretched the capabilities of many mental health providers. Our Charles Robinson has the story.
The pandemic has not been a great situation for me. I was used to leaving out, going to work, going to church, going to dance rehearsal, So I was forced to stay in the house, and staying in the house, I went through some mental challenges.
Bruce is not alone. Mental health professionals know the combination of the pandemic, protests, and other environmental factors have them worried. What are your colleagues saying about this moment, if you will? How are they trying to process it?
We're seeing the manifestations of it by, our streets, in our homes, in our schools. Very little, civility is taking place.
It would be unimaginable to learn a loved one was murdered in this time. Tyra Womack, a radio personality who went by Tyra Phillips on air, was gunned down on the street where she lived. I watched Erica Bridgeford of Baltimore Ceasefire conduct a cleansing ceremony for Womack.
Even some anger is okay. Right? But what we are going to avoid is thoughts and feelings of revenge, thoughts and feelings of hatred. Wouldn't you agree that enough of that is already in this space?
Yeah. Bridgeford burned sage to cleanse evil spirits from the victims' last steps.
Forgive us as we try to figure this thing out.
Mental stress isn't new, but how we deal with its causes and effects can test one's capacity to reason. Help is available, and all you have to do is ask. In Baltimore, I'm Charles Robinson for State Circle.
Let there be light. Let there be joy. Let there be peace.
Charles tells us the two good starting points are blackmentalhealth.com and the Mental Health Association of Maryland at mhamd.org. We'll be right back.
Drop your phone and just be in the moment.
You guys ready?
You bring energy. It's a thrill to see images of a new world for the first time.
I want to look back and say I learned something. That is where transformation happens.
I see people cry on this show, and I'm like, what y'all doing, man?
Out of the water came this giant thing.
That's incredible.
I feel it in my bones.
It's so dope. Amazing.
They hear that song and they're like, that's my story.
I have chills.
All of the joys, all of the sorrows.
This is where it comes from.
The rest is history.
Our job is the truth.
I'm a journalist.
My destiny is to rule this country.
I will not run away.
Yes, Mom.
It's very exciting.
Lord, I'm getting tired of being so lonely. I've got the fire inside that burns more than it lights.
Sir, are you a gentleman? How dare he?
I'm a strong woman and I've got my own. I'm in control. I need somebody to hold.
I refuse to be tamed. Kiss me. It's terribly hot, isn't it? No?
Please be mine again.
No.
A multi-billion-dollar mass transit project has run into major delays and cost overruns. The Purple Line is to connect areas inside the Capitol Beltway by light rail, crossing over metro lines in several spots, including Bethesda, Silver Spring, College Park, and New Carrollton. Work began 4 years ago with the first section planned to open in 2022. But now it is years behind schedule and $750 million over budget, with the companies involved threatening to quit. For background, we spoke with Washington Post transportation reporter Catherine Shaver. How is it that the companies in this project can potentially quit? Help us understand that.
Yeah, there's a clause in the contract that says if the delays exceed 365 days, that either side can terminate the contract unconditionally. They are fighting about that clause and whether the delays actually exceed 365 days. But that is the clause that the contractor is citing, saying that it's been delayed too long, the overruns are too large at this point, and we're quitting if we don't get an agreement by August 22nd.
What would happen in that case? I mean, who would owe money to whom, and who would own the infrastructure that's been created so far?
The state owns the project. As far as who would owe whom what, how much money, we don't know yet. We've asked those questions, and I think the lawyers are trying to figure that out at this point. This is all based on an 876-page contract. And I've actually read much of it, and it is full of legalese. In fact, different parts of the contract seem to say contradictory things. So that's what they're fighting about now. If they don't reach an agreement, the state could hire new companies and try to build it on its own. They could try to find new companies to enter another public-private partnership with. Or, I'm not sure what the other option would be. Well, we have to kind of wait and see. No one's really been at this point before.
How far along is this project? Is there an estimate that we're halfway done or something like that?
It's almost halfway done, they say. And if you drive along the 16-mile alignment between Bethesda and New Carrollton, the entire thing is ripped up at this point. I mean, University Boulevard is completely ripped up. Campus Drive through the University of Maryland is completely ripped up. There are parts of bridges jutting over busy intersections in Riverdale Park. There's a partly built tunnel. So it would really leave, what someone termed as a 16-mile scar through the Washington suburbs.
Explain the partnership if you can. This is not a deal like the Greenway, where it's actually going to be owned or controlled by a consortium of companies, right? But somehow the companies don't just build it, they will operate it going forward.
Yes, so it's a 36-year, $5.6 billion partnership. And for the first 6 years, the companies build the line, they design it, and then over the next 30 years, they'll operate and maintain it. The state of Maryland owns the line the entire time. And after it's built, the state would pay the companies, I think it's about $150 million a year to operate and maintain it.
Is this different from the way they're talking about expanding the Capital Beltway in 270?
It's similar in that it's also a public-private partnership, and that the private sector would be financing the project and the construction. The structure of it, though, is quite different. In the case of the Purple Line, the companies build it, and then the state pays them a set amount of money every year to operate and maintain it. In the case of the toll lanes, the companies would build it and finance its construction, but they would keep most of the toll revenue over 50 years or so, and that would be their profit. So they are very different in that way, but they're similar in the sense that the state is saying, we're going to have the private sector come in and help finance this to help get this project done much more quickly than we could have done on our own.
Obviously, the idea of having a major construction project run into big difficulties is not unique, especially in our area. There's the Silver Line, the Silver Spring Transit Center was a disaster. What happened here? Was it the usual stuff, or was there something unique to this project, the older suburban areas that it's operating in?
Well, what all these projects have in common is they've got some amount of controversy to them from the get-go. In this case, there were some opponents who filed a lawsuit against the project. The state took a calculated risk and signed this $5.6 billion contract while that lawsuit was pending. And the lawsuit ended up delaying the start of construction by about 10 months. So that kind of started things kind of behind the 8 ball. And then since then, the contractor has said that the state has been very slow to provide property along the alignment. They say the state changed the environmental regulations kind of midstream, and that CSX Corporation has changed the requirements for a crash wall along the alignment. So all of those things kind of built up over time. People do criticize state officials, saying that they kind of allowed these cost overruns to get out of control, that they should have kind of nipped it in the bud from the get-go, and that they instead kind of allowed these costs to mount. And then as the disputes went on, the relationship between the contractor and the state also kind of soured over time. So it built up to the point where now we have $755 million in cost overruns and a 2.5-year delay. And a lot of people are concerned that that's a really big gap to fill.
What's the best case scenario here? If they negotiate, they find a compromise, the money materializes, when could somebody board a Purple Line light rail train in, say, College Park?
It depends who you ask. If you ask the contractor, it's not going to be until November 2024, unless they are accelerate work in some way, and that would cost additional money. If you ask the Maryland Transit Administration, they are still saying that it's going to open in 2 phases. The first part in Prince George's County in late 2022, and the rest of the part to Montgomery County in mid-2023. I think most people think that schedule at this point seems pretty optimistic if the contractor is saying we've got another 2.5 years worth of work to do. But I think that's one of the things that they're working out right now in these negotiations.
Catherine Shaver of the Washington Post. Catherine, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
That was Catherine Shaver of the Washington Post. Join us Monday for Direct Connection. Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan will join us to discuss the summer of COVID and a possible tropical weather threat. That's Monday at 7. Now, for all of us at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. Thanks for watching State Circle, and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.
Programs on MPT are made possible by our members and the following.
If you see someone in danger from a drug or alcohol overdose, don't hesitate to help. Maryland's Good Samaritan law protects you from arrest if you witness a drug or alcohol overdose, call 911, and stay to help. So help, don't run. Call 911 and assist